introducing a new segment. I'm pretty excited about this. I kind of mentioned it at the top of the show and where we got the idea from a little bit. But we have Oyster Boys Improv. So what that means is that Andrew's going to ask me a question that I think he manufactured before the show that I have no idea what's coming, and vice versa. So that's how we're going to do that. That's how you know you're going to get a raw reaction here. Drew, I guess I'll cue you up first here, but my question, here I got it written down. I didn't even put it on the script. My question is, who reaches a CFP semifinal first? Brent Venables, Josh Heupel, Brian Kelly, or Kalen DeBoer?
All right, you got to read it. So I had Brent Venables,
SEC.
Josh Heupel.
Yes.
So we're all in the SEC. Oh, great. My question's similar, but it's not similar. I'm thinking quarterbacks here. I think DeBoer would be number 4 for me right now, right? Because this is more of a question in terms of 2023. Do I think Oklahoma? Do I think Tennessee? And who was the other one?
Brian
Kelly.
Brian Kelly.
Oof. LSU. I'm going LSU. I think the addition of good friend of the pod, Blake Baker, what they have done on the defensive side of the ball. I'm a Garrett Nussmeier fan. And I think that they could be a potential sleeper in 2024. And I think you look towards 2025. So I'm going to go with LSU. I love this question, though. Tennessee with Nico Iamaleava. You think about James Pierce. I could buy into Tennessee as well. What about you? You had the question. So what did you got?
I went Tennessee, and your head went exactly where my head went, which immediately I thought quarterback, right? So you look at LSU, they got Nussmeier, Oklahoma, Jackson Arnold, and then you look at Tennessee with Nico, and then Kalen DeBoer, Jalen Milroe, obviously a great player, and we'll see what happens beyond him. I like Tennessee. Tennessee is where I went. I think immediately, I think about Josh Heupel, that offense, what they've brought in, obviously at the skill positions. I think the quarterback makes it go. You think about the success that they had 2 years ago with a guy like Hendon Hooker. You and I talk about it all the time. Timing, anticipation, accuracy. That's how that offense goes, right? It's a up-tempo offense, and it's all built around efficiency. I think Nico's that guy. I don't think they had that last year in Joe Milton because that's not his skill set. Sure, a lot of arm talent, but in terms of being able to play within himself, that's not his game. I get excited when I think about Nico in this offense, and yeah, maybe a little bit of recency bias coming off the Cheez-It Bowl as well, but I really like Tennessee, and I just gravitate to quarterback. And you think about guys like Jordan Ross and David Hobbs and what they've done defensively as well, like what they've done in the secondary. They're one of the most deceptive rosters, I think, pound for pound in terms of how they've built this thing over the last 2 cycles as well. So, Drew, I'm high on Tennessee. I like Tennessee a lot. And who would have thought? I mean, those are 3 really, really good coaches. And I think the other team could be Oklahoma because they got the guy in the middle as well with Jackson Arnold. I think the other thing that we have yet to see materialize is that their talent really bubble up and be ready to play. You talk about guys like P.J. Adebawore, Peyton Bowen as well. Those are the early contributors. Drew, I think this is one of the most talented teams, not only in the SEC, in the country here. I love the roster makeup and what they've done recruiting-wise. So I thought that one was a toss-up. The biggest question I have about LSU is the front 7, and I think that defense needs a total revamp, and that was the only hesitation on that. I think Blake Baker's going to get it right, but I think one of those other guys is going to get there first.
Well, you also got to remember Blake Baker, when he took over at Missouri, he retooled and remanufactured that defense real fast via the transfer portal, and it really wasn't a bunch of blue-chip recruits, and it seems like LSU is trying to do the same thing. Tennessee, maybe they should have been my answer. I feel like I've been saying this for 2 years now, but every time Tennessee gets a defensive commit, I'm like, okay, I think this guy that they're bringing in elevates the floor of the defense, and this group is getting better and better. With Tennessee, the thing is, we know they're going to score points. They just got to stop other opponents, and there hasn't been many defensive takes as of late where I'm like, I don't understand the vision for this with the Volunteers. You said it, Jordan Ross. I mean, James Pierce, they got there as well. So Tennessee, Oklahoma, interesting one because the offensive line, was kind of rated not only by the NFL draft, but also the transfer portal with Caden Green leaving, going off to Missouri. But I'm a Jackson Arnold believer. I think with them, you also got to bring up the fact that Jeff Lebby, he's out, off to Mississippi State, so you got a coordinator change. But I guess you could bring up the same thing with LSU and Mike Denbrock heading to South Bend. I don't know. It's a fascinating question. Let me toss it back to you on this. Do you think one of those four get into the 12-team playoff here in 2024?
I think you could have two of the four that gets in there, quite honestly. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, all think about LSU. They've won 20 games in the last 2 years. I think their floor is extremely high. Now, I think part of that last year is that LSU, without Jaden Daniels, you throw in Garrett Nussmeier, and this is nothing against him. This is more so to do with the defense. It's probably a 7-win team without a Heisman Trophy winner, right? So that's going to be pretty interesting to see if LSU can make enough improvements defensively. I think Tennessee arrows pointing up. I think there will be some bumps along the way for Oklahoma. And I just don't know what to expect out of Alabama other than the fact that they're going to be really well coached. Now, from a personnel standpoint, I think it might take some time to gel. Doesn't mean that they don't have talent, but in terms of maybe a guy like Jalen Milroe fitting in a Kalen DeBoer offense, we'll see. That being said, I think if there's one lesson that I learned last year, don't doubt Jalen Milroe. Guy's a gamer, right? You can do a lot of different things with him. I wouldn't be surprised, if you threw those teams in a hat right now and you said, hey, this team was going to be the team to make us CFP in 2024, I wouldn't be shocked if we had one or two of those teams out of the four that we just discussed.
And I think with Alabama, ask this question 2 months from now when the next transfer portal window opens up. I mean, they add Keon Sabb, former top 247 safety from Michigan. I think we're going to see them be pretty active when it comes to hunting down veterans that can come in and play right away, because they had to replace some guys at some key positions. It's not just Caleb Downs and Caden Proctor. Like, there are some bodies that left that building. I agree. They're going to be coached well. But are they going to have the horses to run the race? I don't know. Talking 2024 with them.
Last point on Alabama real quick. I think it's important to note that Kalen DeBoer's best work in terms of player acquisition was done through the transfer portal at Washington. You got Penix, you got Jalen Polk, you got Jabbar Muhammad, you got Dylan Johnson as well. So you got 4 or 5 starters that came over. Those weren't doubles. Those weren't triples. All 5 of those guys were home runs, right? So I think they deserve a lot of credit there. You mentioned the spring transfer portal window. That's really not where a lot of teams do the majority of their shopping, but I would expect them to be opportunistic, right?
Well, I think we are entering an era where it's a little bit different, right? A couple of years ago, you wouldn't shop in the spring transfer portal window, but this is still new. So yes, you're right. I don't think there's as many goods available, if that makes sense.